Guys, can I chat to you really quick about a couple of verses? I don't want to bore you if you're not interested in scriptures being shared with you from my mic to your mind, but I always want to share in context what I visibly saw that was very destructive to a lot of souls and a lot of people. And so stick with me on any verses I share, okay? So Peter, in 1 Peter, it says, let it not be the outward adorning, right? Let it not be what you put on that makes you who you are, but let it be the inwardness. And it was even referenced as a meek and quiet spirit, okay? A meek and quiet spirit was much more impactful and precious, according to the word, in the eyes of God, okay? So let it not be what you put on. I wasn't taught that even a head cover and a skirt, which is what I wore for 20 years, could also be what that verse talks about. Let it not be the head cover, let it not be the skirt that makes you the putting on of that apparel that pleases the Father. That verse was never used in that manner. It was just, hey, let it be the hidden man of the heart. Let it be the things that are inside you, like a meek and quiet spirit. That's the great price, okay? So just to put that into some of my women out there who are still struggling with the verse, believing that, here's the extreme. The extreme was that they had to cover their heads 24/7 and even sleep in their head covers. They had to sleep or cover their heads with a sheet, a satin cap, something that wouldn't come off of their head at night. All the extreme attempts of women even coming to me and asking me, what can I buy that won't fall off my head at night? This was an extreme level of commitment to the Father, and it's not to be mocked. But it also shows the desperation in believing that the outward approval, whatever I could do on my head, was going to please God and get his attention. And so also Paul, we know the verse, and you'll see me reference my notes because I don't want to get too far off. So I have my notebook, okay? Paul in 1 Timothy 2 was also saying, women, you need to dress modestly, okay? So not elaborately, not revealing yourself as a person of wealth. You know, because in the first century, women were, you can notice if somebody has money. You can notice the class that they're in for the way that they dress. You can in 2026 as well, okay? And you can pretend to have as much money as you want. You can be as fake in your jewelry or as real in your diamonds as you want. And Paul was saying this creates a divide. This creates jealousy. This creates comparison. In 2026, can I say that Paul might say this creates shopping sprees? This creates Amazon carts being filled with what we might buy or not buy. It definitely creates an illusion of what we might look like when we purchase what we see online, because I promise you, them dresses that are in the pictures don't look the same when you put it on, you know, because they put that on a model for you to buy. It's illusion. And so connecting these two thoughts, let it be the hidden man of the heart, according to 1 Peter, and then also letting it be modesty, according to Paul in 1 Timothy. This was, you can see, a reflective communication throughout generations, showing the church or the modern believers how to dress. Now, this comes from some behind-the-scenes communications. This content today comes from some behind-the-scenes communications that I've received, text and email, since putting out my video yesterday about skirts or hell, because it can be very debatable when you talk about modesty. But each verse in the word that speaks of how to dress or what to do for your outward adorning, it is reflective of the conviction of your heart and asking you, requesting you that you have an inward beauty. Okay, and so I think we can all agree with that, right, guys? Definitely not trying to deceive. This is my experience. This is what happened with me. And this morning, this would not leave my mind to share with you guys. Like, I had to push this button and say, let me try to bring some clarity. Sometimes I know that I can talk really fast when I got a lot in my mind, a lot of verses, a lot of conversations that I've had that have confused people. And so I also have to bring it down, slow it down. Think about the listener. So in 1 Corinthians 11:4, it talks about, if you pray, cover your head. Got it. Now you can go to 1 Corinthians 11:4 and read 4 through 7, and you can kind of come from Paul's perspective. You can think about the hair being a covering. You can think about the cloth from China. Little joke from my last video. any of those head coverings. This hood that I got, let me go ahead and put my head covering on, right? This was something that we never walked out of our house without our head cover. We didn't go anywhere without it. And that became what was expected. It was what was required. And then I feared taking it off because, you know, I was told anyone who left the faith, left the religion I was in, always took off her head cover, always rejecting the faith, just misconstruing a lot of scriptures together. So 1 Corinthians 11, 4-7 speaks of praying, worshiping, prophesying with your head covered. That it's not a verse that says when you jog, cover your head, when you sleep, cover your head. Okay? When you run, work, labor, talk, conversate, leave your house, go to the garden, eat together, when you fellowship. No. Paul was just saying when you pray and when you prophesy. And so you see two things happen. One, you see religions adapt this principle of covering your head all the time as a cultural practice and symbolic of modesty, and that is to be commended. It's beautiful. It is a statement of faith if you see a woman cover her head. And then the opposite of that would be someone who starts to cover their head without faith. There's that too. People who cover their head, not when they're praying, but when they're jogging, you know, when they go to work, when they go to the garden, when they go outside at all. But what had actually happened was there was a verse that was put with Paul's words in my religious experience. And that verse was that we are to pray without ceasing. And because we are to pray without ceasing, then we should cover our heads without ceasing, because we pray all the time. And so that became one particular individual's conviction, and it spiraled into so many of our lives. But in honesty to you guys, who's praying consistently and constantly all the time? You got to work. You got to take a phone call. You got to help your children. You got to bathe your children. You got to, all the list of the to-dos that you have to do all day. And you know how much you pray. You know how much you talk to the Father. You know how much He means to you and how much you put Him into what you do. And so the bondage came when you had to be covered because you felt condemned if you weren't. And then the pressure to wear it at night, the pressure to wear it when you sleep, the pressure when they woke up and it was removed, the scare, all that is taking you away. It's taking you into condemnation and away from what the word is saying. Now, when Paul used the word head cover, or when Peter spoke about modest apparel, it wasn't from the law. When they spoke about it, it wasn't from the mouth of Jesus Christ or the mouth of Moshe. Moshe is Hebrew for Moses. It was simply cultural in their century, what that man was communicating to his assembly. So once again, you have a man requesting and requiring what his assembly did that wasn't based off of the ancestors. So the cultural guidance that Paul gave the assembly, I'm not mocking that either. It's just not a commandment. So I wanted to come back on this video and just kind of piggyback what I said on my previous video, because there's really some awesome videos out there about women wearing head covers, why they wear it, how they're convicted to wear it. And it is a conviction. And when you have a conviction, my personal opinion, your personal conviction is between you and your Creator and is not to condemn someone else. So if I don't have it, or if I were to go to any assembly without my head cover, should I be judged? Am I there to pray or prophesy? Should I be judged by those who wear their head covering? The judgmentalism that I saw, the self-righteousness that I saw, was really unique, because to end this video, I'm going to share with you that we actually kept Levitical feast days. Okay, so in the book of Leviticus and Numbers, you can find that there are appointed feast days I won't go into detail or share them at this time, but we began to observe them, reverence and honor them as a people in my religious organization. And so what I consistently saw was exactly what 1 Corinthians 11 was saying. Paul was talking in 1 Corinthians 11 to the assembly about head covers, about apparel, about how they should come together, how they should worship. He even talked about how they should eat and save for others, to not be greedy. 1 Corinthians 11, he also said that your meetings do more harm than good. How do your meetings do more harm than good? Well, I saw it with my own eyes. I consistently saw that the meetings, the feasts, the celebrations, the dinners we ate at, the meals we ate at, the Lord's Supper, if you want to call it that. They didn't call it that. They called it Passover. I've attended these for years, and I consistently saw men in apparel, garments that were mirrored after the leader. So whatever the leader wore, they wore. And then I consistently saw the pattern of his family, the way they dressed, being what the example for everyone to follow. So let's combine a couple different thoughts. One, you ever saw SHEIN? You ever shopped at SHEIN? Just gonna give you an example. You go to SHEIN and you can find so much you're in love with, like shirts, pants, skirts, hair covers, jackets, vests. Like, it's a marketing app of clothing to generate revenue. And it has beautiful garments, okay? Then I'm gonna mirror that SHEIN app with Hebrews, okay? Hebrews were a Semitic speaking people, Hebrew speaking people, okay, from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So at these meetings, we were to believe that we were descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and we were to look like, sound like, walk like, and talk like the religious leaders. And it took purchases from SHEIN to do that. It was comical, honestly. For somebody who is, I'm older, I don't give my energy to things that I did in my youth. I didn't want to be pressured, right? I don't blame the people for the pressure that they put off on one another, but I didn't need to be pressured that I need to shop at SHEIN to try to look like someone every time a feast came around. Like Paul said, your meetings do more harm than good. If you got to get on an app and go out and buy the best thing to look the absolute best for the photos, for the picture, and the people, then you're forgetting all about what Paul said in Peter, in 1 Peter, in Timothy, when it is not the outward adorning, it is the heart. It is the meek and quiet spirit. So when I'm gathering on a feast day and I'm not reminded of the holiness that I sought from year one, and it develops into a mirrored image of outward adorning, you needed to look the part, you needed to sound the part, you needed to perform the part. If you didn't perform, everybody knew it. You might be rebuked. And to be continued, because the show that I saw at those feast days and those meetings and those meals and those dinners and those gatherings, it showed me that we were SHEIN Hebrews. Thanks for listening. I'll be back.